Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Now with me in the studio, I have Professor Anthony Kila, Professor of Strategy and Development and Institute Director at the Commonwealth Institute of Advanced and Professional Studies, CIAPS. Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos, and Jide Ologun, legal practitioner, national development advocate, and fellow Institute of Leadership, Coaching, and Strategy. Very good to see you, gentlemen. Well, not nearly a full house. Yemi Adamolekun has been missing in action, but she will return. She will be back. Well, we have had three major topics. First, PENGASSAN, threatening to throw us back to the era of fuel scarcity tomorrow morning because of the dispute with Dangote refinery over membership of unions. We had Mr. Dankunle speaking on that. Now we looked at Ogoni. Ogoni 4 have been given national honors. Following the Ogoni 9, they were given full pardon and national honors in May. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu saying this Ogoni problem has to be solved so that oil exploration can resume in Ogoniland 31 years after the crisis began. And then, of course, thirdly, we had Ambassador Joe Keshi reviewing the United Nations 80th General Assembly so far. And he had a lot of points to make about how that, summit has gone so far, particularly in terms of Nigeria's submissions, the participation of Africa, the search for a permanent seat for Africa, other countries recognizing the state of Palestine, and all of those issues so far. Well, we have all of you, international relations people here, public relations people are on this panel. Let me start with you, Professor Kila.
Association of Relation People.
yeah, that's what you are. International relations, public relations.
Let us start from the, just the way you listed it out, from the PENGASSAN to the Ogoni and then to others. And but let me start by remarking that two things, the PENGASSAN, the Dangote issue and the Ogoni issue, it appears Dr. Ruben Abati's main concern is to get petrol. in all the matter, what you just want to make sure that people get petrol. I'm sure a lot of people are applauding you for that, because in this matter, the main interest is to make sure that Nigerians do not suffer. But I think it speaks to a larger issue. There's one issue I am very particular about, which is the role, status, and function of unions in this era. I'll come back to it. It's a very important one. But let us start by saying that whatever the case is, the union needs to be careful that they do not pass from right to very wrong. Whatever it is they're fighting for now, the idea that one body would hold the whole country to ransom and impound the whole country looks bad, no matter how legitimate and sacrosanct they are. That shorthand report of the situation is bad for them, and I think they need to look at it. By the same token, I think Dangote needs to be careful. I mean, at the moment, Dangote is a golden child in the playground, because they've been able to do, let's be very clear, what government and NNPC has not been able to do for decades. They've been able to do it. So, everybody's darling, even those people who say they're child of monopoly, it really doesn't matter, because in this case, they did not stop other people. They created what is not there. So for anybody to go against them, that person is in a bad place. We saw NNPC try it. Now these people are trying it. And in the middle of all this, the man Dangote himself, we joke he has become an activist. I guess when you have 20 billion at stake, you become anything. Dollars, by the way, $20 billion, you tend to be more vivacious in all you do. But the Dangote group needs to be careful not to breach this law. Normally, the right to associate is a fundamental right. And, I guess instead of saying, do people have the right to associate or not, what we need to be looking at is the association, does it bring damage to their employer and to the country. And I think this is where everybody needs to roll up their sleeves. The comparison that Dangote did, I've seen some people do it, saying how Abacha dealt with PENGASSAN, is an understandable comparison, but it's a sad one. But we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. This is a democratic government. The way should be different. I think what we need to do is to get everybody to understand that there are democratic and civil ways to deal with things. One of them is the court, rather than holding the whole country to ransom. So that is a good thing. But I'm very impressed, and this is where I like to be a believer. I'm very happy when I heard your guest, Dangote, say that Dangote has got in place enough strategy, enough supply to neutralize the threat of PENGASSAN and the other people. If that is true, that is a fantastic. That means they're really going to turn them not only to good capitalists, but actually to becoming a hero. And again, it must be said, like Ologun Dangote, few people are investing $13 billion in Nigeria. Like Ologun Dangote, few people, especially those who have money that we don't know the source of their money. There are too many people who have money in this country who are keeping it abroad. There are too many people who we celebrate as rich that we do not see the fruit of their labor. We do not see the jobs they are creating. So when we find one that is doing it, I think it's the duty of the people and the government to make sure that that system is not disrupted. I'm very amazed. I read about the, not aloofness, but the studied neutrality of the government in this matter. I hope they're doing something we don't know, because really, they should be intervening to stop the situation. For the matter of Ogoni, let's go there quickly. I think we want the oil, whether it's our oil or their oil. I saw the people shaking their head when Dr. Bati said the oil is for all of us. Well, we need the oil, and they should just decide what is it they want to let people have access to the oil. The Ogoni Bill of Rights is clear. The consultation they've done consolidates it. I think it's time to really look at it to see what can be done. I am very impressed with the speech that the Vice President gave at the United Nations. Ambassador Keshi said when we compare with other countries, we will see that, we could have done better. That may be so. Let's not spoil this one that we have. I think it's a good enough speech. I think there's no problem that he went there instead of the president. And I think the cases he made were good cases. But I believe that, and this is why I agree with Ambassador Keshi, I think that we should find a way to become the voice of Africa, at least one of the major voices of Africa. I know South Africa and Ghana are becoming more aggressive in a good way, in a competitive competition. But I think we need to find a way to be bigger than them. And one of the things perhaps we need to do, I want to say, is to get ambassadors, so that if we want to play international politics, you need ambassadors as foot soldiers to do that. And I think that's a crucial thing that we need to live on. I'll let other people take other things now.
Professor Aworawo?
Yeah, PENGASSAN needs to be careful. It needs to be careful. He shouldn't take law into his hands. We understand that PENGASSAN is instructing his members not to block supply of crude and gas to Dangote. That would be in bad taste. The issues on ground can be resolved through dialogue. There are had issues before now that were resolved through dialogue. So why would this one be so different? But what I think has made this one so nasty is the information we now have regarding the charges, the money they collect from loading. When the tankers come to load, they collect a lot of money. So we actually pay a lot of money, like we are paying Agbero, so to speak. We pay a lot of money invisible that goes to all these unions. No wonder they live so large. They talk about tens of thousands they collect from each tanker that loads. And what that means is that since Dangote is now doing it directly, and the drivers are not members of PENGASSAN, they lose all of that money. But I think there's a way they can dialogue on these things so that PENGASSAN does not lose out entirely, and Dangote too shows understanding so that we can move forward. But they see fuel, we see our fuel. Dangote managed to get his truck to supply over the weekend, and they see, but so that things will not be.
He's worried about Monday.
Yes.
I don't know where he's going to.
So that things don't turn topsy-turvy. Like you rightly said, but Professor Kila said, government should get more involved. In the last discussion, we even had National Security Advice. Some other people, DSS, got involved. Those who should get involved so that we can resolve this and then move forward. Then Ogoni. To my mind, I'm not even sure they're even asking the right questions in all these negotiations. One of the guests was talking about a list of people they submitted for employment and all that. That should not be the focus. The focus should be how the oil companies will operate with the highest standards so they don't pollute the soil, so pollute the water, so people can go ahead with their economic activities without having to go for handouts from government. Because when we say submit a list, how many names can they possibly submit for employment? The right question should be, how will these companies operate in a manner in which you cannot disrupt the economic activity of the ordinary person? And then two, whatever the government is giving is also not, the way it is defined is not well defined. They say 13% to state. The governor just takes it. It may not even be from the oil producing area of the state. There should be some way to channel money to that area where the oil is taken. I say this as a stakeholder. Oil is taken from my mother's land, and nobody gets anything. There should be a way in which, apart from either the 13% is structured in a way in which some go to the government to take care of everybody. I mean, we should be broad-minded. But something to that area, to the people who lose directly from the oil thing.
The specific.
Yeah, so the thing, and sometimes when even the company wants to give something, they give to the OVA, the king. The king may not even people from where the oil is taken. And he simply takes the money and goes away. And I know this from the research I did on the one in my mother's land. So the right questions are not being asked. So in these negotiations, the right question should be asked. The way oil company operates in Nigeria is not the international standard. We are the greatest polluter. Flaring of the gas, what is not done in other countries, happens here. Those are things that must change. And the government needs to also be more serious and perceptive. The Ogoni cleanup started in August 2011. This is 2025. So when the people are shouting, they have good reasons to shout. There was the thing started August. I was in Abuja. In fact, I came to the presidential villa. You didn't see me. I was living there when it was announced that the cleanup. That's August 3rd or 4th, 2011. And this is 2025, and we are still talking grammar over how they will start or how serious things to be done. So these are things. The right question should be asked and answers provided. I'm sure that is just the only way to resolve all of these contradictions. The United Nations General Assembly, well, we have gone to speak. I agree with Ambassador Keshi that the way we went demanding for permanent seat is not the way it is done. Even if we make all the noise, it doesn't even change anything. It will make us more distant from getting it. There are things that will be done on the ground that will make us get it. And the Pan-Africanism, I don't know what is happening to it. Other countries are representing other continents. Why is that of Africa be rotational? It's a permanent seat. Africans should be able to trust a country, Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa, as the case may be, to represent Africa. Instead of this, we must all be... I mean, the permanent members are there. They are all permanent. They are not represented. They are permanent countries having permanent seats. Why is that South Africa? How will it work? I can't even understand. So Africa we need to trust one another more. And then, of course, when the time comes, let us compete neatly. Whoever gets it, let us support that country. But I hope that country will be Nigeria.
Okay. Mr. Ologun, I hope you are going to talk about this fuel scarcity.
Thank you very much.
That they say is looming.
A wise man said...
Because, Prof, I think they give him free fuel in Unilag. So he didn't remember. He didn't remember.
I just saw the police station close to campus and just filled my tank.
Okay. So Unilag is insulated.
Yes.
Please defend us. People of Nigeria.
Prof, excuse me. A wise man said it never hurt to be prepared. So I filled the tank also. While relying on the promise of Mr. Dankunle that we should not panic. And
Call him well.
I really do not want to panic. But randomly, let me attend to the issues. I'll start with the Ogoni issue. I commend the president for extending the national honors and to pay attention to the people in that region and douse the tension and revisit the huge injustice that was visited on those martyrs. They were not given fair hearing. It was an ugly situation. So that is a step towards reconciliation and reintegration. Let's talk about the resources we have in that region. You see, Saudi Arabia has the largest oil field in the world, the Gawa province. And they don't have the kind of issues we have in Nigeria. And Midland in the USA has, I think, the largest producing oil field. And we don't have this oil spillage and the oppression in Midland like we have in Nigeria. And in public relations, I'll borrow something from law. In the law school, we were taught to keep our gunpowder dry. The government should learn that also. While I was reading about the national honors, I already preempted what should follow, which is let oil exploration resume. No, you don't join the two because it creates suspicion. Because are you now giving us national honors because you want to resume oil exploration here? The benefit must be to the people. I've said it, we have enough resources in Nigeria to work just for 3 days in a week in terms of the wealth we generate, if the commonwealth is for the common good. And I really appreciate the historical narrative of what the Ogonis have gone through from 1908 till date. So if the government wants to fully engage, can you walk your talk? Like Professor Aworawo mentioned, the Ogoni cleanup, how far? Promises. We understand that the Niger Delta amenders, proceeded to break the pipelines because the promises were that the blessings and the benefits accruable to that region is in the pipeline. So let's go and blow the pipeline and bring those things out. Let us reconcile in this nation through performance. So that is for the Ogoni. Then coming to PENGASSAN, you see, we have the labor law, 2004, we have the trade disputes law, we have the International Labour Organization prescriptions about managing industrial relations. And then I tie with Dangote, who has responded to them that they should tread carefully in tampering with a contract that may not involve them. Fine, you can defend the rights of workers. And there were two major issues. The first was the right of some employees to unionize. You cannot force an employer to unionize, neither can you prevent. And Dangote has said, okay, feel free if you want to unionize. Now Dangote is claiming, I'm restructuring and dealing with sabotage in my business. Now we want to picket but like we have said here, I'm happy that the government will not allow this to happen because, by the way, where are our refineries? And I understand the relevant committee in the House of Representatives, they're already engaging the stakeholders. And like many trades in Nigeria that by midnight, get fizzled out of relevance, we expect that solution will come. And for hunger, we need to go and study the 5 Ps, the P5s, those who have the permanent seats over there. What have they done? What have they achieved? And if Africa needs to be represented, let's galvanize. Let's discuss it primarily at the African level. Let's go as a team to present our case. I appreciate the narratives from the president of South Africa, Ghana, our vice president, and everything. But, however, I feel we are just reinventing and repeating what we have gone through as a continent. What are we doing to reposition the African continent? Okay, that should be our concern.
With the UN is that the UN is in need of reform. It's not only Africa that is, protesting.
Exactly.
The City Declaration, the Israeli consensus, the Uniting for Consensus that was led by Germany, Japan, and other countries, and then the option offered by, what's his name? Former Secretary General Kofi Annan. So it's an old debate. But the basic thing is that the world has changed. It's not what it was post-World War II. There are other countries contributing money who have influence. There are other centers of power. And the United States cannot continue to dictate to the United Nations. So that's the whole point about reform. But quickly, the immediate past Rivers State Administrator, Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, retired, and the Rivers State House of Assembly may be headed for a showdown following the state lawmakers' decision to probe the state's expenditure over the 6-month period of the state of emergency. Ibas concluded his mission as administrator of the Ori State on September 17, following the end of the 6-month emergency rule, after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu directed the suspended governor, Simi Fubara, his deputy, and State House of Assembly members to return to office. Now, the Rivers State House of Assembly, presided over by Martin Amewule, said it will investigate the state expenditure during the 6 months of emergency rule. Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas says the House of Assembly does not have such powers to interrogate him or probe him or audit what he did in 6 months. Mr. Ologun, let me start with you briefly.
Okay, let's see the platform on which that will stand, because accountability is a global requirement in good governance. And of course, I think you should even present yourself for accountability. So let's wait and see. But he has visited the president with the chairman of EFCC, the minister of finance, and the question that came to me is that, is the president the one to make him account? I mean, Rivers State has suffered enough, but we have told the people of Rivers State, they know what to do. The suspension is over. And if there are fears that billions of naira have not been properly channeled to benefit the people of Rivers State, why do they have a House of Assembly? Because the claim of IBAS is that he's only answerable to the president and the National Assembly that supervise him. But when it comes to the case of accountability, we have in Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of power. So if there are allegations and need to probe, why not? That's my position.
Yeah, I don't think Ibas is right in saying that he's not answerable to the House of Assembly because the president appointed him. He needs to go and answer. He needs to submit himself. If you accuse me of, stealing money or not being able to explain, I will just present the books. Go and check. Not say. He even used an insulting, expression. He said a fool's errand. That the House of Assembly calling him to come and render accounts, they have embarked on fool's errand. I mean, that is insulting. The money belongs to Rivers. The House of Assembly members, they represent Rivers, and they have rights to call him to come and answer. I'm urging President Tinubu to request him to go and answer, because he claims the president appointed, he has met the president. The president is okay. They are asking questions about their money. Go and answer. That will help us to lay the matter to rest.
Fair enough. Professor?
Well, I think this kind of, in Lagos parlance, or is it Warri parlance, they should tell Admiral Rivers to behave himself. We should really look at him and say, what's all that nonsense? You've gone to a place where you are not elected, manage their money. They say, come and account. You say only the person that appointed you. Admiral, please, behave yourself. This is not the way to handle matters like this. You go back, you show them every penny you've spent, and you answer all questions. I hope for you that you can give account of every penny. I mean, the least you can do is to say, yes, I'll present myself. So please behave yourself.
Just before we go, gentlemen, very briefly.
Yes.
Where were you on Tuesday, Wednesday, when Lagos was overtaken by floods? Who got caught in that madness?
I was not in Lagos.
You were not in Lagos?
No, my ancestors told me.
Oh, you went to Prof. Did he get to your side? Because you live next to the lagoon.
To the lagoon.
Cocooned away from
there you go.
Yeah, it doesn't get to us. We're very close, but the way and that is what I want to recommend to the governors of Lagos.
Okay.
There needs to be innovation that enables Lagos to attend to this flood the way Netherlands
the rest of the world
attends to its own. Deep down lower, below sea level than Lagos, but we don't have flooding. So we need to, get environmental engineering to be able to solve this problem.
Mr. Ologun, where were you?
On Ikorodu Road, Ogoniland Junction, it was terrible with the traffic. But we got to where we were going, and I have recommended, and I'm recommending again, that Lagos State may want to learn from Taiwan how to manage cases like this. It's not a challenge that you cannot overcome. And I have also requested that the governor may declare a municipal state of emergency on local government roads, now that they have direct allocation. And I must also commend the governor. I've seen interventions on Toyin Street, Allen Avenue, so that, because the potholes also add to the traffic and all the discomfort we have on the road now.
Thank you, Mr. Ologun. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up honestly and dutifully every week. Thank you very much indeed. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show, here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. From our entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.